I'm joining us right now. We have Epstein survivor Jess Michaels. Jess, it's awfully good to see you again. So you joined the other survivors Wednesday at the congressional hearing when Attorney General Pam Bondi faced that new scrutiny over the DOJ's handling of the Epstein files. Bondi never turned to face you or apologize for the terrible job redacting the files, leaving victims exposed via their statements, their addresses, even some nude photos. So let's play some of how lawmakers addressed Bondi.
Will you turn to them now and apologize for what your Department of Justice has put them through?
Turn around and face them and apologize.
You refuse to even acknowledge they are here. To the survivors in the room, please raise your hands if you have still not been able to meet with this Department of Justice. Every single survivor has raised their hand.
I have spent my entire career fighting for victims.
So what went through your mind listening to her testimony?
I was crushed. I wasn't shocked, but it still hurt. And I think that that's important. I wasn't expecting a lot, but that moment that Representative Jayapal gave her was actually a gift. She could have very easily taken control of that time in the hearing, turned around, taken responsibility for the egregious errors done in this release, damaging, painful, life-shattering errors done by her Department of Justice, the Department of Justice that she is in charge of. And she let us down. She let the American people down. It was a devastating moment.
Why didn't she do it? Why do you think she didn't do that?
I think it is impossible to look victims in the eye when you know you could be doing something to make a difference. She's seen those files. She knows exactly what's in those files. And she is not moving forward with investigations that we all know should be happening. So she is guilty right now, and I don't think she can look us in the eye. I think it's impossible for her to look us in the eye.
And then that begs the question, why is she not doing everything she possibly can? But that's going to be speculative at this point. Let me ask you about Bondi, who blamed all the redaction errors on external pressure, time constraints. But some survivors and lawmakers have told us they feel the careless redactions were deliberate. What do you make of Bondi's explanation for those? And why does accountability feel like it's up to the survivors to make it happen instead of those whose job it is to enforce the law?
This is only my opinion. It feels very deliberate because we see survivors' names, we see Jane Doe's names, we see names and images of minors out there, and we don't see perpetrators. We don't see those names mistakenly released. And so that feels really deliberate, very, very deliberate.
And speaking of those names, it is hard to fathom how many powerful figures, both in the U.S. and abroad, were connected to Epstein. This week brought resignations by the chief counsel for Goldman Sachs and a high-profile Dubai-based CEO. While their inclusion in the files doesn't mean they were involved in any criminal wrongdoing, does this suggest progress toward justice, or is it just a mere drop in the bucket toward the amount of justice due?
I believe it is symbolic. I mean, I think it's a tiny step, but it's very symbolic. What's really going to make a difference in how much justice actually happens is if these people are pulled in to testify before the committee.
Well, Bondi says that the DOJ is investigating Epstein's co-conspirators, many of whom remain unknown after being concealed in the files. Are you aware, Jess, of these investigations? And after seeing the years of cover-up around this case, do you have faith Bondi's investigations will finally reveal everything survivors want brought to light?
We have not heard a word from Pam Bondi about us meeting with her. We have not heard a word about what these investigations are. And I have very little faith that this woman who couldn't even look at us when we were there, when she was given a moment of opportunity for empathy and leadership and emotional maturity, she didn't take it. So what she does behind closed doors and what she does next, I have very little belief that she's going to be on the right side of this.
Does that little belief extend to the prospect of ever getting a meeting with her, or do you think you'll get one?
Well, I'm one of the survivors that's victim statement is missing. So, I'm figuring out ways to safely reach out to the DOJ and demand a meeting with her. And I think all of us are demanding a meeting with her because there are between 302s that are missing, victim statements that have been left unredacted, between statements that we know there are important people that should be being investigated and are not. We should be heard. I mean, if she's going to allow Maxwell to be heard, if the committee is going to allow Maxwell, the convicted pedophile, to be heard, we should be heard.
So your statement, do you think it could be in those 3 million files that they have not released?
Yes, and I think that's another error that people are not talking enough about, that the DOJ received files that were redacted by the FBI and didn't say a word about it, didn't say a word about it to the FBI, didn't tell us that, hey, by the way, these were already redacted by the FBI, so that Congress members didn't even find out until they went in to go look at the files. The ones that are supposed to be completely unredacted were still redacted from the FBI job that they did last spring.
Okay, Jess Michaels, to be continued. We'll see you again. Thank you much.